Hey guys, how's it going? So this year I have decided to upgrade my travel camera. I'm still undecided about which one I'm going to get, but it got me thinking about my current setup and how it holds up in 2022. The camera I'm talking about is this one right here, my Fujifilm X100F. I owe a lot to this camera, particularly over the last few years shooting throughout this pandemic, and definitely my style and direction over those years can be owed a lot to this camera. Now I know a lot of you watching have probably seen my videos of me actually out using this camera, or even gone and picked up an X100F yourself based off my videos, which is pretty cool. But needless to say, this camera is a beast no matter when you've bought one. I definitely think this camera holds up in 2022, and I'm going to share with you a few of the reasons why. I'm also going to share with you a few of the reasons as to why I'm going to be upgrading, because I think it's time for me. Also guys, before I go on, if you could like, comment and subscribe, that would be awesome. So the first reason as to why I think the X100F is a great option in 2022 is the price. Given that this camera is a few years old right now, the price is a lot more manageable for most people. Considering this may be someone's first camera or even a professional second camera, the fact that you can pick one of these up for less than $1,000 in Australia right now secondhand is pretty incredible. The quality you're getting with this camera at that price is a great option for beginners, or like I said, even the professionals who are looking for a secondary travel body that's just a little bit easier to carry around. That's definitely what drew me to the camera initially. I was shooting on my Sony a7 III as a professional, but when it came to the fun trips I wanted to go, I hated bringing that camera, so this is what drew me to the X100 line. Alternatively, the X100V, being the newest version of the X100 line, is going to set you back about 1900 Oz, or if you can get it on sale, maybe 1700 Oz. So the price is definitely different there, and something to consider if, budget is a bit of an issue. I do think price is an important thing to consider, and from a budget perspective, the X100F makes for great value compared to the new X100V. By all comparisons, the X100F is an incredibly well-built camera. It feels solid in the hand, it's the perfect size for bringing with you on pretty much any outing, and to be honest, it also looks really cool. Now, I realize some of you might think looks are a little silly, but to be honest, if something looks good and feels good, you're gonna be way more inclined to bring it out and show it off, and in turn, take more photos. The number one way to get better at photography is by taking more photos, so having a camera that you're eager to bring along with you is just gonna really benefit your progression. Another factor about build quality is that you can set this camera up pretty much however way you want. If you're a traditional shooter who wants all of your images to be adjusted manually with different dials, you can set that up so it's a full manual setup with a lot of analog style buttons. Alternatively, if you are a beginner and you want to kind of set it up as easy as possible, the X100F allows for this, and it's something I've done in the past quite a lot. As many of you know, I shoot in aperture priority when I'm using my X100F, and it's a really easy setup. I've done a video on how I've set up the X100F, so I'll leave it above, and you can go check it out, because I think these settings really help someone who's just starting out. One of the last major pros about the X100F in 2022 is the image quality. So are the images that come from the X100F up to current standards? In my opinion, 100%. All of these images you're seeing right now were shot on this exact camera using the RAW format and editing in Lightroom. I think the quality in these images is pretty awesome, if I may say, and definitely not something to be disappointed about. So for someone just starting out looking to move on from a smartphone into shooting on a camera and experimenting with RAW photography, the X100F's 24 megapixel sensor is going to do the job incredibly well. Alternatively, the X100V has a bumped up sensor of 26 megapixels, but to be honest, this 2 megapixel difference isn't going to be an incredibly big thing you're going to notice, especially when you're starting out. If megapixels is something you are concerned about, as an example, last year I had one of my X100F images blown up for a billboard of a travel company, and it looked amazing. I went right up to the billboard to make sure the image looked good, and to be honest, it looked amazing. So image quality and sensor size isn't something you need to worry about with this camera. So these are the three main reasons as to why I think the X100F is a great option in 2022. There are plenty more, but these are the ones that really stuck out for me. Now, whilst I really believe these things, there are a few reasons for me personally as to why I'm wanting to upgrade. Number one would be the lens options. The X100F and X100V alike have a fixed 23mm lens, giving it a 35mm equivalent due to the camera's crop sensor. Having a fixed lens is a great way to approach photography. It means you don't get caught up in gear, buying lenses you might not need, and also teaches you how to move around the scene with a fixed lens. But the more I go out and travel and use this camera in the real world, I notice a few limitations for my style that would really be fixed with having some different lens options. For example, I love the 50mm focal length. I think it's a great option for portraiture and also for some compressed landscape work. 50mm is broadly recognized as an essential bit of someone's kit, and although that the X100F's 35 35mm is really close to that and makes a good looking scene. Having the 50 or 55 option is something I really miss. Having the option to swap to a 50mm for a portrait shot, then back to a 35mm for some more landscape stuff is something that isn't really possible with the X100 line, and that's definitely one of the main reasons as to why I'm planning on upgrading. Trying out different Fujifilm lenses is also high on my list, especially the 35 f2 and also the 56mm f2. So I'm going to need a camera that allows me to do this and help me experiment in getting those different types of shots. The second reason would be user upgrades. Given this camera is a little bit older, there are a few things that do make it feel a little bit dated. Right now, my main camera is the Sony a7 IV, and honestly, the tech coming out of this camera is incredible. Now, I'm not comparing the Sony a7 IV to the X100F, that would be silly, but what it's just showing me is that a lot of the newer cameras have some features that really stand out / make live shooting a lot easier. Things like a touch screen, a flip out screen, better button layout, even the ergonomics of the camera might seem all like minor things when you talk about them individually, but when you compile them all together and the amount I shoot, these things start to make a big difference in the whole experience. The more you go out and shoot, the more you learn what you need and what you don't need, and that's kind of where I'm seeing the value in my shooting. So the X100F does have a few features that do make it feel like a bit of an upgrade is a bit worthwhile right now. Personally, if this camera had a bit more tech in it, especially regarding the autofocus and the ergonomics, I really wouldn't upgrade right now. But like I said, these are things that I'm noticing are really important to me, and the X100F isn't really holding up in that regard. The last reason I want to upgrade is change. Finally, change might seem like a wishy-washy way of wanting to upgrade your equipment, but I've been shooting with this camera since 2019. I bought it when I was living in Vancouver and have been shooting with it ever since. It served me incredibly well over the years and definitely contributed to my style of photography, but with different trips coming up this year, I'm just eager to try out different equipment. Like I mentioned, focal lengths is definitely one of the main things I want to experiment with, and also just different camera bodies to start getting used to new alternatives or even things that might suit me a little bit better. Sometimes a new lens or a new body can just spark a brand new line of creativity, and that's oftentimes something you need to follow. I think wanting change isn't a problem, it's something that's inside you and you want to kind of pursue it. And I think if we all just stuck with our old equipment, I'd be taking travel photos on a Sony a6300 and a GoPro. So sometimes saving up the money to invest in a new line of equipment is just going to do you a world of wonders when it comes to developing your art. Overall guys, I think the X100F is an incredible camera. I think it's a great option for anyone if they bought it in 2022, 2023, or even 2024. The features are just timeless, and the image quality that this camera produces are going to be great for a long time. So if you are considering the X100F as a beginner or even as a professional looking for a second, I couldn't recommend it more. Personally, I just think there's a few features that the X100F is missing that's kind of something I'm looking for with a new camera in 2022. Personally, I'm going to keep my X100F and don't plan on getting rid of it, but I just think that moving forward and the way I want to take my art needs a bit more of an upgrade, specifically in the focal length range and, you know, ergonomic / use of it. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.